Imagine standing in the middle of the Doncaster Plant Works. At one moment, you're surrounded by steam engines, noise, heat, and thousands of workers building locomotives. A few decades later, the same space is producing weapons for world wars, and today, well, parts of it are housing estates and modern workshops. This site isn't just one story, it's a story of Britain changing over time, as the site is inextricably linked to British history. In this exam warm-up, we're going to walk through each phase of the site and have a think about different physical features we could use for each phase. But first, let's have a look at the exam. So you will have 1 hour to answer 2 exam questions from a choice of 3. Each question is worth 20 marks, and there is additional 5 spag marks for each question. You must use physical features of the site in your answer. If you have a look at this red arrow here, it says you should make it clear in your answers which specific times in your site's history you are referring to. So in your answer, you need to make it clear, are you explaining the growth phase, World War I, the interwar years, World War II, or the industrial decline phase? This is what your answer paper will look like. You must write down the site you have studied, which is the Doncaster Plant Works. Do not write the plant or DPW, please write the Doncaster Plant Works. And make it clear which question you are answering. So remember, the Doncaster Plant Works was inextricably linked to the wider historical context of British history. It was built in 1853. You need to use physical features and other forms of evidence in each question. Also, address each part of the question carefully. Phase 1, the growth phase. So one key phase in the development of the Doncaster Plant Works was its rapid growth during the Industrial Revolution after it was built in 1853. The growth happened because of the expansion of the railway network after the invention of steam and the demand for steam locomotives. Supported by nearby resources like coal and steel and the River Don, and the site's location on the Great Northern Railway. Edmund Denison also played a key role here. He became the chairman of the GNR and was also an MP. This meant he had the power and influence to ensure the plant works was built in Doncaster. He used its geographical location as his argument for it to be built here. This phase is significant because it shows how the site became a major centre of industrial production, reflecting the wider industrial revolution in Britain. So evidence that we can use for this time period. So this can be seen through physical features such as the large engineering brick workshops that are still there today, such as E2, the paint shop, the wheel shop, the boiler shop. All of these were added during this phase as the site grew in size and importance. In E2, we can see the large glass windows and the high ceilings that allow in natural light. We've got railway tracks running on the floor in the buildings, wide wooden doors for locomotives. So these original features have not been changed because this building is a Grade 2 listed building. Don't forget as well that the original purpose of our site still remains, which is really useful for a historian. Phase 2, World War I. So during World War I, the site changed in its function and was repurposed to make munitions for the war, but it did also continue to operate as an industrial factory as well. So the change happened, the cause of the change was DORA. So the government now controlled the site and it required industries like the plant works to support the war effort. Women were employed at the site for the first time as munitionettes, and this demonstrates the concept of total war and shows how the site and women played a key role in the war effort. Nigel Gresley was also a key figure during this time period. He was the chief mechanical engineer of the site, and he received a CBE after the war for his role in reorganising the plant works, showing what a significant role he must have played during this time period. So physical features we can use for this time period. Workshops were easily adapted because they already had precision machinery in these workshops. But the boiler shop was producing cartridge cases, the lower ternary was producing shells up to 1,000 a week, and the carry shop was producing ambulance stretchers that were used on the front line. Around 750 of those were produced at the plant works. The plant works was really typical of other railway works at the time. Many became munitions factory to support this concept of total war. Phase 3, the interwar years. In the interwar period, the site became a centre of technological innovation and railway excellence. This development was driven by engineers like Nigel Gresley, who designed faster and more advanced locomotives, such as the Flying Scotsman, the first locomotive to reach 100 miles per hour and travel from London to Edinburgh non-stop, and the Mallard, which reached 126 miles per hour, breaking the speed record for a steam locomotive. This phase is significant because it shows Doncaster as a centre of national pride and technological achievement. And this is what gives Doncaster its rail heritage and its civic pride. Physical features for this time period, you could use them. So we've got the E2 workshop, which is still standing today, that we visited, and this is grade 2 listed. Again, you can see the original features like the large windows and doors, railway tracks that were used for locomotive construction. Denison House is also a grade 2 listed building, and this is where the designs were created for the Flying Scotsman and the Mallard. And obviously we've got physical evidence in the Flying Scotsman and the Mallard as well. Phase 4, World War II. During World War II, the site again was repurposed to support the war effort, marking another major turning point at the site. These changes were caused by the Emergency Powers Act and the need to support the war effort. This phase is significant because it highlights the site's crucial role in events like D-Day and Britain's military success. And this can be seen through physical features such as the carriage and wagon shop producing the Horsa gliders, which were used in D-Day, the machine shop producing parts of weapons like machine guns, the erecting shop building armoured trains, and the boiler shop was used for the RAF equipment such as the armoured barbette vans. Don't forget as well, the site became really diverse during this time period. Women worked at the site again, and we also have the Home Guard as well, and American GIs were also linked to our site during this phase. Phase 5, the industrial decline. So from the 1980s onwards, the site experienced major decline and transformation. This decline was caused by privatisation, changes in government policy, and the shift from steam to electric trains. This phase is significant because it reflects wider deindustrialisation in Britain and shows how economic changes affect local communities. Evidence for this time period. So the evidence, this is shown by the fact that 2/3 of the site were demolished, including the famous Crimpsall workshop, meaning only 1/3 of the site remains. There's a new housing estate in Hexthorpe being built on the site, and modern workshops were added over time, and these look very different in appearance from the original buildings. And this was to support the manufacturing of electrical trains, showing that technology also had an impact on why our site changed. Local and national significance of the site. So, local significance. Doncaster became an industrial town. There was a huge population growth in Doncaster from around 6,000 in 1850, and this grew to 30,000 in the 1900s. It gave Doncaster a really strong community identity through the positive social impact it had on things like social clubs and trips to the coast, and in long-term rail heritage as well, and our civic pride. National significance. So the Plant Works became a centre of engineering innovation with those famous trains like the Flying Scotsman and the Mallard. It was crucial in World War I and World War II in helping the war effort. And it helped shape Britain's industrial and military history as well. The Horsa gliders were used in D-Day, which was a turning point in World War II. So the main challenges to understanding our site are these. So 2/3 of the site have been demolished. There's modern workshops being added over time that are significantly different in appearance to the original workshops, and there's now a new housing estate on the demolished site. So these would be the challenges facing a historian in understanding our site. However, they would overcome these challenges by using different pieces of evidence of the site, such as being able to visit existing buildings like E2, the engineering bricks, the maps and satellite imagery that we can use that shows the change over time. Photographs would show how the site looked in different periods. The documents and plans of the site show the original design and use. We've also got the street names in Hexthorpe and local buildings such as Denison Road, the Crimpsall Road, and the terraced housing in Hexthorpe. The people associated with our site then. So we've got Edmund Denison in the growth phase in World War I, Lloyd George, who was a Minister for Munitions, Nigel Gresley, who repurposed the site, and women as well, who became munitionettes to support the war effort. In the interwar years, that would be Nigel Gresley, who designed the Flying Scotsman and the Mallard. World War II, again, we've got women employed at the site. American GIs, the Home Guard. The site was visited by King George VI as well. And in the industrial decline phase, Prime Ministers Margaret Thatcher and John Major, who were responsible for privatisation of the site. So just to reiterate then, the evidence that you can use in your exam, it's really important that you use evidence and the physical features in every question. And make sure you say that a historian would use a combination of physical features and other evidence to understand what the site looked like at a specific time in the past. Physical features, like I've said, surviving buildings, E2 workshops, looking at the large windows, the doors, the tracks on the floor. The physical remains, such as the engineering bricks and the reinforced concrete, are going to tell us that these buildings were really large in structure. Other evidence you can use to combine with the physical features, maps and satellite images showing the change over time. Photographs are going to show how the site looked in different time periods. And the street names and local buildings around Hexthorpe, such as Denison Road, the terraced housing that was built for the workers, as well as St James's Church as well, which was also built for the workers. These physical remains give clues, but historians must combine them with other evidence to fully understand the site's appearance and how it changed over time. So final quick exam tips. Use specific physical features in every paragraph. Okay, that's your AO3 marks. You're going to get your 10 marks out of your physical features. Answer all parts of the question. Okay, because they're going to use that criteria that we've looked at, A to N, to create the questions, and they might use 2 bits of criteria for that, so make sure you are addressing each part of the question. Plan your answer, plan 3 clear points before writing. For turning point questions, explain what changed, why it changed, and why it matters. Also include second-order concepts in your answers such as cause, change, consequence, and significant. Be specific, answer the full question, and explain your evidence and physical features clearly. Good luck, everyone.